What's your greatest most satisfying eye-facing called it moment? Told my GF at the time that her best guy friend is into her. She kept saying she only saw him as her gay best friend and he only sees her as a sister. Well, she ended up cheating on me with him and they started dating after I broke up with her. I like to think I won that argument. Boyfriend's best friend, let's call him John, started asking me for favors and texting me at odd hours of the night. Felt uneasy about John's actions and informed my boyfriend every time I was contacted as soon as it happened. I explained to boyfriend that John was acting suspiciously and making me uncomfortable, but I couldn't pinpoint why. Cut to a month or so later, John claims I cheated on my boyfriend with John. I fast knew it. Disclaimer: I didn't do it with John. Edit. A lot of people have asked the same question, so I figured I'd answer here. John has been demoted from best friend to no longer acknowledged person on earth. I don't know why John did what he did and I likely will never know. However, his actions were a reflection of who he is as a person and have very little to do with me. Boyfriend and I are still going strong. It's an honor and privilege to spend my days with my boyfriend. I hit the jackpot by getting to be in a relationship with him and I wouldn't risk it for anything. My wife and I went to Red Lobster one day. My wife likes the shrimp and lobster pasta with Parmesan cheese. They sat her plate down. She got a weird look on her face. She told me it smelled weird. It smelled normal to me. I straight up asked her if she could be pregnant. Her eyes got wide as she starts doing some math in her head. We went afterwards and got a pregnancy test. Sure enough, she didn't even know yet. All because I remember some random tidbit about some foods smelling off to pregnant women. When my brother and sister-in-law planned a trip home for Easter weekend, I told my wife and parents that they were coming to announce their pregnancy. Everyone told me I was crazy and they just used the family chat for that. Cue Easter lunch on Saturday and my SIL refuses a glass of wine and everyone guesses she's pregnant. Called it. My cousin swears it's my fault. She has 5 kids. Every time she's been pregnant I called it before she knew. She says me saying it is what makes it take. I'm banned from asking her, are you pregnant? In Canada we have a holiday called Family Day in February. In 2008 my wife was dealing with a sick family member out of town, and had come back for a visit. We were trying to have a child at the time. Well, with our crazy schedules we had one chance on Family Day. The moment we were done, I jumped up, gave her the double finger guns, first time in my life, and said, bam, you're pregnant. Twin girls, red hair. Turns out I got everything right except the hair. Her Italian genes beat me in that one. I win for our entire marriage with that prediction. Kept finding small cut-up straws in my grandma's bathroom. So many straws. I let my grandmother know that someone is using her bathroom to use drugs. She freaks out saying I'm accusing her of using drugs and that it's impossible. A year later my uncle divorces his wife due to her cocaine addiction. Grandma says, well, Kay always stopped by in the afternoon to use the restroom and then she would clean my whole house and I just didn't think anything of it. My favorite story at Thanksgiving. Kay can come do cocaine in my bathroom if she cleans my house afterwards. I'll even leave her pre-cut straws. In high school my best friend's little sister, 16 at the time, brought home her new 18-year-old BF from work to meet the family. I was over at the time and talked to him for a while because we were the same age. After meeting him something was off. I got the impression that he was much older than claiming to, had been in jail. I wound up saying something to my friend, who told his parents and sister. Long story short, the family freaked out on my for spreading rumors that weren't true, telling me to mind my own business, etc. 2 years later the sister comes home from a date with him in tears. He finally came out and admitted to her that 1. He was 30, not the now 20 he was saying. 2. He had spent 2 years in prison, but refused to say for what. I was very quick to point out to the family how I called this years earlier and was basically shamed out of their house. Caught up with a high school friend on a university campus. Pretty quiet guy, subtle good looks but never showed any interest in relationships. We were waiting for separate buses when he runs into one of his classmates, and she joins us in the bus line. We were having pretty good conversation, but I saw her eyes repeatedly flickering over to his face. Soon after, my bus pulled up, so I smiled and waved goodbye to my friend, and said to the girl, it was great meeting you. I'm sure I'll see you a lot more in the future. She looked puzzled, but smiled and waved back. They're in a common law marriage now, and getting officially married next year. And they've been valuable friends to my fiancé and I for the last 6 years. dude at work had been complaining about his crazy girlfriend and her problems. 2 weeks later he is talking about how she is pregnant. In my head I'm thinking, she is going to lose the baby because it isn't real. Sure enough, he comes in all sad about just over 2 more weeks later saying she had a miscarriage. Some time passed and has complaining about her crazy antics again. My husband is super medically fragile. He's had cancer twice and a bone marrow transplant in the last 9 years. A few years ago he had surgery on his wrist and I had a gut feeling he was brewing an infection despite being on antibiotics. His surgeon's office saw him and switched ABX. I contacted the cancer center because I just knew it was going to become more. They blew me off and punted back to the surgeon's office. I knew this was beyond the surgeon's scope. I pitched a tantrum fit and pretty much told them they were going to see them and I wasn't accepting no for an answer. The triage phone nurse was condescending and telling me it was probably nothing and could wait. We got to the clinic and the nurse there started looking around the incision site. She told me that she believed my gut and pushed to admit him. The court showed a huge infection that landed him in the hospital for a week on potent for antibiotics with another surgery to clean out the site. When a penny stock I bought around 3 cents per share blew up to over $3. My only regret is not buying a lot more shares. One of the old coaches from the Chicago Bears is Mark Trestman. I told everyone that he would not make it to the 3rd year of his contract. He would get fired after the 2nd season. I made a $500 bet with my dad because I was that damn sure. Soon as the news broke, I called him and told him I prefer cash over check. About halfway through Splice, when Dren has sex with Adrian Brody, I said out loud to my friends she's gonna morph into a male and rape his wife. My friends were justifiably weirded out when that actually happened. I don't care if they are up 28-3. They are the Falcons. They'll blow it somehow, cries in Georgian. That my sister is gay. Growing up she developed what was very obviously, to me, a crush on different girls. In high school I finally said, "Girl, have you considered that these feelings you have for so-and-so might be romantic?" She flipped the fuck out on me. We didn't talk for weeks. She'd date any guy that asked her out because she was supposed to like guys but never really felt anything for them. Finally in college she called me and went, "Yeah, so anyway, you're right, I'm totally gay." We joked that it took her so long not because she was in denial, she just didn't want me to be right. Obviously not the most satisfying. But watching Family Feud and correctly calling the last answer makes me feel accomplished. Show me Picard's flute. It was New Year's Eve. We were about to do the firework and me and my friend wanted to set up the box for the firework, just putting 4 bricks around it to keep it safe, and start the firework. Then this girl came and said she was gonna do it cause she bought it. We told her how to do it, and she said nah, it'll just start it up. I told her don't blame me when it tips over and starts shooting at us. She said it won't happen. That's exactly what happened. The firework just tipped over and started shooting at cars and people. I just calmly walked up to her and said I told you so. My wife was watching some TV show. I happened to walk in during some scene in which it was raining out, and a guy and a gal were looking at each other through their car windows as their kid went from one car to the other. I said here comes the scene where they make up without knowing any of the background of the show. My wife started telling me that it won't happen. They had had a failed relationship years earlier, hence the kid, and the woman was with a great guy. Right after she said that, the woman got out and ran to the guy's car basically professing her love for him. Oh fuck. Well, I don't want to go into too many details, but I was friends with a groomer type. This was a guy who I had celebrated basketball championships with, who I had been to dinners with, who I had gone to parties with, but something felt off. Slight disclosure, I'm working in the youth department of a church at the time and he's the youth pastor. The eye-facing called it moment happened when I go to the head pastor to say something's wrong. I think he's messing around with the girls and I think he's a little unstable, so if someone doesn't put a stop to this, he's going to end up killing someone. I get kicked out for BS reasons. 1 year later, I'm part of a new church doing good work in the hood and helping raise money, clothing, that sort of thing for disadvantaged people. I get a call from one of the girls from that old church group. Turns out my old friend was hooking up with underage girls and ended up murdering one of them. Guy's in prison now. About a year after my father's death, my mother got together with a man. I felt as if something was off from the start and told her that he doesn't seem right and that he was going to do something stupid and hurt her emotionally. A year later they got engaged and they seemed happy. I've never seen my mother so happy since before my father died. Well, as of yesterday, it came out that this man has been engaged to someone else since before my mother met him and that he has been sleeping with at least 2 other women on a regular basis. Wish I could tell her that I had facing called it, but I'm afraid it will make her more upset. Anyways, now to build my revenge plan. Wish me luck. Probably not the only one, but I was watching Seven for the first time and my mom was eagerly watching me as I reacted to the movie. She lost her shit when I said, "Is that Kevin Spacey?" during the phone call scene. She couldn't believe I recognized his voice and figured out who it was before the big reveal. I'm obviously not the only one to have guessed, but it was satisfying watching her reaction. Following a car with its left turn signal on for 2 miles. The driver kept slowing at side streets as if to make a left turn, but didn't actually turn. I looked over at my daughter and said, "Watch, they'll make a right turn." Facing called it. Yes, they were still signaling left when they made the right turn.